Your life feels like a battlefield. You sense it every morning when you wake up without direction, when the mess takes over your house, your schedule, and even your mind. And while you run around putting out fires, chaos grins because it's winning. The worst part? If you don't face it now, it'll be even stronger tomorrow. Are you really going to let it keep taking over your life? Listen, my friend, this video isn't here to distract you for 5 minutes. It's a wake-up call. Because if today you don't choose order, tomorrow you'll be forced to deal with the consequences. In this journey, we're going to explore 13 Stoic strategies that aren't just motivational advice. They're tools that have helped people for centuries face fear, uncertainty, and confusion. And now it's your turn to use them. The Stoics understood that a disorganized life doesn't just steal your time, it breaks your character. Because when you don't know where you're going, any impulse can pull you off track. Today, you'll stop looking the other way. Today, you'll learn how to bring order into your inner and outer world so you can reclaim the calm, clarity, and strength you need. Because in the end, the question is simple. Do you want to be the master of your life or a prisoner of chaos? Before we go any further, if this video is already stirring something inside you, subscribe and join as an exclusive member to get more tools that can help you build a clear, purposeful life. And tell me in the comments, what's the first thing you're going to put in order today, even if it's hard to admit? Or just write Stoic at heart, today I choose order over chaos. That will be your public commitment, your first real step toward a steady life, led by you. Ready for the first strategy? 1. Stop lying to yourself. Be honest with me. How many times have you told yourself that tomorrow you'll finally get your life in order? Tomorrow you'll wake up early. Tomorrow you'll clean that desk covered in papers. Tomorrow you'll reply to that message you've been avoiding for days. But then tomorrow comes, and nothing changes. So you settle into a convenient lie. It's fine. I'll do it later. My friend, the problem isn't that life is full of chaos. The problem is that you've spent too long negotiating with it, and every time you postpone, you give up a little more control. The Stoics knew the root of disorder isn't in the scattered objects or the piling to-do lists. It's in the mind that refuses to take responsibility. Marcus Aurelius put it plainly when he wrote, "The life of a man is what his thoughts make of it. If your thoughts are tangled in excuses, your life will mirror that mess. But if your thoughts are grounded in firm decisions, your life will start to reflect that clarity too." Picture this. Your alarm goes off and your first battle isn't with the world. It's with your own laziness. You reach out, turn it off, and sink back into bed. You think, just 5 more minutes. But those 5 minutes stretch into 30. And what seemed like nothing becomes the first message you send to your day. Today, I'm letting myself drift. It's not the alarm that has power over you. It's you who chooses to surrender in that first fight. Now change the scene. The alarm rings, and instead of searching for an excuse, you take a deep breath and get up right away. That small act is already a Stoic reminder. You're not here to live at the mercy of your impulses. You're here to rule over them. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And that self-mastery starts with the simplest gestures, with what you choose to do when no one's watching. Maybe you think your chaos is too big, that between work, debt, arguments, and no time, putting things in order is impossible. And yes, it's overwhelming. But listen closely. Chaos isn't defeated all at once. It's defeated piece by piece. Like someone crossing a river on slippery stones, the secret isn't to sprint to the other side. It's to plant your foot firmly on the first rock. That first rock is today's choice. Let me tell you about my neighbor. Her house was packed with unopened boxes after a move. For months, she told herself she'd deal with them all at once. She never did. One day she made a decision that seemed ridiculous. Open just 1 box a day. 2 weeks later, the monster of chaos had become something manageable. The key wasn't strength. It was the consistency of choosing again and again. That's the Stoic principle applied to any area of life. Do what's in your power, even if it's small, and repeat it until order takes over. My friend, if you want to start putting your life in order today, try these 3 simple commitments. First, put something back in its place the moment you finish using it. A cup, a jacket, whatever. It's the discipline of not leaving things unfinished. Second, every morning, write a sentence on paper that sums up your responsibility, like, "I am the master of my decisions." That sentence will be your shield against the temptation to blame the world. And third, at the end of the day, reflect on just one area where you improved, no matter how small it seems. Because the brain learns to notice progress when you highlight it, not when you ignore it. Here's what I want you to understand. Chaos feeds on your inertia. If you don't act, it grows. If you act, even just a little, it starts to retreat. And no one else can take that step for you. No mentor, no partner, no boss can fix what you keep choosing to leave messy. You are the only one who can take that first step. So ask yourself today, do you want to keep living in a mental room filled with papers scattered all over the floor? Or do you want to open the windows and let clarity in? The Stoics didn't speak of order as a luxury. They saw it as the foundation of freedom. Because without inner order, you're a slave to your own habits. With it, you reclaim sovereignty over your life. The first Stoic strategy to put your life in order today is this. Stop lying to yourself. Recognize that you don't need the perfect moment. You already have what you need to begin. Choose to get up. Choose to decide. Choose to move. Because order doesn't come from the outside. Order begins with you. 2. Tell me how you spend your time and I'll tell you who you are. Think of your day like a budget. Every morning you're given 24 invisible coins. You can't save them for tomorrow and you can't borrow more. What you don't use well is simply lost. The question is, where are you investing them? Because right there, exactly there, is where your future self is being built. Not in your intentions, not in your plans for someday. It's your hours today that shape the person you'll be 5 years from now. The Stoics were crystal clear about this. Seneca, in his letters to Lucilius, wrote, "Life, if you know how to use it, is long." He wasn't talking about calendars or biology. He was pointing to the way we waste our hours on trivial things. If you spend your time coins on empty distractions, the result is inevitable. You become scattered, fragile, and frustrated. But if you choose to invest them in what strengthens your character, you grow with direction and strength. Let me paint a familiar scene. You wake up, turn on the TV, just for company, while you have breakfast. A commercial pops up, you change the channel, then comes a shocking news story, then a pointless debate, and suddenly half an hour is gone before your day even begins. You leave in a rush, show up late to work, and your mind is already filled with noise before you've even tackled your first task. The crazy part is, no one forced you to waste that time. You gave it away. And in giving it away, you also gave up part of your energy and peace. Marcus Aurelius left us a warning that cuts like a blade. Stop wasting time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one swap arguing for getting distracted, and the message hits even harder. Every second you spend on pointless debates, on comparisons, or on worrying about things you can't control, is a second you're not spending becoming better, more grounded, more in control of yourself. Modern science backs this up. Psychologist Cal Newport, author of Deep Work, explains how the brain needs long, uninterrupted blocks of focus to perform at its best. But when we're constantly bouncing between notifications, chats, and random stimuli, we don't just lose minutes. We lose depth, we lose clarity, and we train our brains to stay unfocused. It's as if every interruption leaves a crack in your ability to be fully present. Here's a small reflection. Yesterday, during your last 24 hours, how much time did you spend doing something that really matters in your life? Maybe half an hour of exercise. Maybe a meaningful call to someone you care about. Maybe nothing. And now the other side of the coin. How much time did you give to social media, to group chats, to checking the same email over and over again when it could have been answered in 2 minutes? If you're honest, the balance doesn't lie. Ali Abdal, A doctor and content creator, once shared how shocked he was after checking his phone usage report. He'd spent several hours a day on social media without even realizing it. What hit him the hardest wasn't the number itself, but the realization that those hours had been stolen from what he actually wanted to do. Read, learn, create. His solution? Drastic but effective. He set hard limits on certain apps and turned that recovered time into space for things that gave his life meaning. The result? Clarity, more energy, and most importantly, the feeling that he was investing his time, not just spending it. You can do the same. Start with 2 simple moves. First, set sacred screen-free moments in your day. For example, the first 30 minutes after waking up, or your lunch hour. Make them untouchable, like a Stoic ritual. Second, before saying yes to any activity, ask yourself, does this bring me closer to the person I want to become, or pull me further away? That 3-second pause can save you hours of wasted time. Chaos feeds on your lack of awareness. If you don't realize how you're spending your time, you'll stay trapped in the same loop of distraction. But once you start paying attention, something shifts. Because saying, "I don't have time," is not the same as admitting, "I spent it on things that don't matter." One is an excuse, the other is the truth. My friend, your time is your identity under construction. If you give it away to noise every day, you become part of that noise. But if you protect it, direct it, and invest it in what truly matters, then you're building order. Chaos doesn't go away with excuses. It disappears with clear decisions, made over and over again, until your routine speaks for you. And now I want you to declare it in the comments. Write, "From today on, I protect my time as my greatest wealth." Let that be your first step toward reminding yourself every single day. That order begins with how you use your hours. 3. Take command of your mornings and evenings. What you do in the first and last minutes of your day is like the prologue and epilogue of a book. If you begin with disorder and end with more noise, don't expect the middle chapter to make sense. Mornings and nights are the anchor points of your life, and if you don't use them with intention, chaos will gladly write the story for you. Think about it. Do you really believe Epictetus started his day worrying about whether the slave market in Nicopolis was up or down? Of course not. He used his mornings to train his character, not to let circumstances dictate his mood. The Stoics understood that both waking and resting are sacred moments. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminded himself each morning that he would encounter difficult people, ingratitude, and selfishness. He didn't do this out of pessimism, but to prepare his mind before stepping into the world. It was his way of beginning with clarity, not surprise. And if he, emperor of an empire, carved out a few moments each morning to put his mind in order, how can we not do the same? Think about what happens when you open your eyes and the first thing you touch is your phone. Before your body has even stretched, you already have 10 notifications, a message that irritates you, some headline that stresses you out, and a video you don't even remember clicking on. Your day hasn't even begun, but your mind is already exhausted. It's like inviting noise to have breakfast with you and sit at the head of the table. And the same thing happens at the end of the day. A lot of people think nighttime is just a bridge to sleep, but in truth, it's a time of planting. What you think about before you fall asleep becomes the soil where your next morning will grow. If you're glued to screens until 2 a.m., jumping from app to app, your brain isn't resting. It's just switching stimuli. The result? Shallow sleep, grogginess when you wake up, and the sense of carrying around a heavy backpack of invisible fatigue. Let me give you a simple example. I once knew someone who would fall asleep each night watching endless videos, with the screen still on. He'd wake up feeling foggy, like the day had already started off lost. One day, he decided to change just one small thing. Turn off his phone 30 minutes before bed and read a short book with inspiring stories instead. It wasn't magic, but within a week, he felt more rested and less scattered. That tiny repeated gesture was enough to shift his experience of nighttime, and slowly, his mornings too. This is where the Stoic strategy comes in. You may not control everything that happens in your day, but you can control how you enter and exit it. And that makes more of a difference than you think. Try this. When you wake up, before even getting out of bed, sit on the edge and remind yourself of a simple idea. It could be something like, "Today I'll act with calm," or "Today I won't let distractions decide for me." Saying it won't change the outside world, but it will bring order to your inner world. You can also write down 3 words that define how you want your morning to feel. For example, clarity, energy, purpose. Write them and look at them like a map. Even if the day doesn't go perfectly, those words become a lighthouse. Every time chaos tries to throw you off course, they guide you back. And at the end of the day, take a moment to close with intention. It doesn't need to be a long, complicated ritual. It can be as simple as answering one question in your mind. What did I do today that was worth it? That question forces your mind to search for something positive, even on a tough day. And believe me, there's always something. It could be a kind gesture, a good conversation, or even just the fact that you resisted a temptation. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly." And it applies here. Don't expect a single morning or a single night to change your life. What does is the accumulation of those intentional beginnings and endings, over and over, until they become your foundation. Consistency is what transforms order into part of who you are. Try it tonight. Before going to sleep, write one short sentence that sums up your day. Even something as small as, "I made a little progress today." And tomorrow, when you wake up, whisper to yourself, "Today I have a plan." It might sound silly, but it's not. It's a reminder that you decide the tone your story begins and ends with. Chaos wants to steal those first and last minutes, because it knows they set the direction for everything else. But if you take them back with intention, then you're already building order. And when you control those 2 anchor points, the rest of your day starts to align in a completely different way. 4. Outer disorder feeds inner disorder. Take a look at your space right now. You don't need a therapist to analyze you. Your environment already speaks for you. If your bed is covered in clothes, if your desk looks like a storage unit, if yesterday's dishes are still sitting in the kitchen, there's your proof. This isn't just about aesthetics. It's a silent reflection of what you're allowing in your life. Every item out of place is a quiet reminder that chaos is still calling the shots. Seneca said it clearly. Poverty is not having too little, but wanting more. That same restless wanting is what drives you to collect things you don't need, to hold on to papers just in case, to keep objects you haven't touched in years. And the more clutter builds up outside, the harder it becomes to see clearly inside. I once heard a story on a podcast about a woman drowning in anxiety. She couldn't focus or finish anything. She felt like she was constantly chasing time, never catching up. Instead of starting with big changes, someone gave her a simple suggestion. Start by organizing your physical space. First, she tackled the kitchen, threw out expired food, kept only the essentials. Then she moved onto her desk, clearing what had piled up for months. And what's incredible is that, with each space she cleaned, her mind also started to clear. It wasn't magic, it was proof. When you bring order to the outside without even realizing it, you begin to reclaim order on the inside. Now ask yourself something simple. How do you feel when you look at your desk? Do you feel calm or anxious? Because if, before you even start working, you already have to push aside a mountain of stuff just to make space, then what you're actually training is distraction, not focus. Want to change that feeling? Start by choosing one small corner and act now. It could be your nightstand, your backpack, or that drawer you always ignore. Empty it completely and keep only what you actually use or what truly adds value. Everything else, let it go, no excuses. That tiny action is a declaration of power. You're deciding what stays in your life and what doesn't. Then, build the habit of closing every action by putting things back where they belong. A cup, a pen, a coat. It seems trivial, but over time you teach your mind not to leave loose ends. And closing loops in the outside world is the best way to start closing loops inside yourself. You can also look at your closet and choose one piece of clothing that's been sitting there for months. Don't hesitate, donate it. This isn't about fashion, it's a training in decision-making. By letting it go, you send a clear message. I don't carry what no longer serves me. Now imagine this, walking into your room and finding everything in its place. I'm not talking about a perfect space, but a clear one, where your eyes aren't tripping over piles of unfinished business. What you'd feel is lightness, and that lightness becomes real energy for your day. The Stoics knew that simplicity was a strength. Marcus Aurelius avoided surrounding himself with unnecessary luxury because he understood that every excess becomes a burden. And Epictetus reminded us, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. If you apply that wisdom to your environment, you'll realize that external order isn't just about tidiness. It's about mental discipline, clarity, and taking back the control that chaos keeps trying to steal. Try it today. Pick a corner, organize it, and feel the difference. Don't just think about it, do it now, because every space you clear is also a piece of calm you're reclaiming inside yourself. My friend, order doesn't begin with grand gestures. It starts with the objects you choose to let go of and the ones you choose to keep. When you clean the space where you live, you create room to breathe, to think, and to choose with clarity. Write it in the comments as a commitment. Today, I organize one corner and reclaim my mind. Because in that small action, you're already standing up to chaos. 5. Without direction, you sink. Picture this. You get on a train with no destination. At first, it feels exciting. You think maybe the adventure of not knowing where you're going has its charm. You watch the scenery go by, enjoy the ride, even feel relieved not having to make decisions. But soon, fatigue sets in. You don't know whether you're closer or further from anywhere. The view starts to repeat, the thrill fades, and all that's left is exhaustion. That's what happens when you live without a plan. You confuse lack of direction with freedom, but in reality, it's a one-way ticket to burnout. Because without direction, time slips through your fingers, and with it, little by little, your energy fades. The Stoics understood that a life without purpose is like rowing without a compass. Epictetus said it bluntly, it's not things that disturb us, but the opinions we have about them. And tell me, what opinion can you really have of your life if you never know where it's going? The anxiety doesn't come from the circumstances, but from that drifting feeling, from not seeing a thread tying your days together. That's what really wears you down, not having a clear direction. Think about your everyday life. A directionless Sunday night usually ends the same way. Hours spent scrolling on your phone, comparing yourself to others, bouncing from one video to the next, with the vague promise that tomorrow you'll change. But the next day, everything stays the same. Because a promise without a plan has nothing to hold it up. And so, every morning becomes a copy of the one before. Now here's the key. You don't need to plan your entire life or write out 20 pages of massive goals. Sometimes it's much simpler than that. Just ask yourself what you want to build this week. Not in vague terms, but with concrete actions. For example, decide you'll cook at home 3 times instead of ordering out, or that you'll wake up 30 minutes earlier to create a calm space before the day begins. It may not look like much, but it is. Because every small goal achieved sends a message to your brain, I can move forward, and that message, repeated, builds confidence. Marcus Aurelius used to write out his daily intentions like a set of navigation instructions. He didn't write to impress others, he wrote for himself, to keep his direction clear in the midst of chaos. That practice still holds power today. If each morning you ask yourself, what choice can I make today that brings me closer to who I want to be? You start living with a compass instead of letting the wind decide for you. Try and experiment this week. Before going to bed, review your day and ask, did this take me one step closer to the future I want? Or did it leave me exactly where I was? You don't need a speech. A simple yes or no is enough. And with that answer, you adjust. That simple check breaks the cycle of running in circles. Another useful tool: treat your week like a menu. On Sunday afternoon, sit down for 10 minutes and plan how you want to shape your days. Don't just focus on tasks. Include breaks, moments for yourself, breathing room. Because planning isn't about stuffing your schedule with productivity, it's about balance. If the plan is off balance, so are you. And when you adjust that balance, your energy starts to support you instead of draining you. Now imagine the difference. On one side, living each day with no direction, constantly putting out fires, jumping from distraction to distraction. On the other, waking up knowing the 3 things that truly matter today. That second path isn't more rigid, it's more free. Because when you know where you're rowing, even the storms feel lighter. The Stoics knew this well. Order doesn't come from good intentions, it comes from structure. Wanting is not enough, you have to design. And that design doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be consistent. Every week is a chance to draw a new path, even a simple one. Because as long as you're drifting, chaos will always have the upper hand. So tell me, do you want to keep riding a train with no destination? Or are you ready to take the wheel of your life? Start today, even with something small, because the 5th Stoic strategy to put your life in order is this: have a plan. No matter how simple, but plan. And now share it in the comments. What's the first step you're going to take this week to set your direction? Post it. Your answer might inspire someone else in this community who's also ready to bring order into their life. 6. What are you planting in your mind? Be honest with me. Have you ever ended a day completely drained, carrying the weight of 1,000 problems, only to realize you didn't actually do anything important? You feel exhausted, unfocused, like your mind is overloaded. And no, it's not just because of what you did. It's because of what you let in all day long. My friend, it's not only about your visible actions, it's also about what you consume with your eyes, your ears, and your attention. Epictetus said something that still hits hard today. What belongs to others is not yours. And that includes other people's drama, unsolicited opinions, and all the noise you let flood your mind without any filter. Psychiatrist Marian Rojas Estape often says that protecting what we allow into our minds isn't a luxury, it's a basic need. And she's right. Because if your head is constantly filled with outside noise, how can you expect to have space for your own ideas, your own calm, or your focus? I'm sure this sounds familiar. You open Instagram or TikTok thinking it'll be a 5-minute break, and then an hour flies by. An hour where you didn't rest, didn't solve anything, and yet you feel more tired, more anxious, and maybe even a little more down. You saw people traveling, working out, succeeding, and even though you know that's not the whole story, a part of you compares. Your mind fills up with voices that aren't yours, and slowly they convince you that you're falling behind. I've lived this firsthand. I used to think scrolling through TikTok at night was a harmless way to unwind. Just 5 minutes before bed, I'd tell myself. It always turned into 40. Until one day I decided to delete the app, just for a week, as an experiment. I didn't replace it with anything complex, just a light book to read before sleep. And what happened shocked me. By the 3rd day, I was sleeping better. I had more patience, and even noticed my mood had changed. Not because I was doing more, but because my mind finally had some silence. The Stoics understood that the mind is like fertile soil. If you plant weeds, don't expect to harvest fruit. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself not to get dragged into what was beyond his control, because he knew that what you feed your mind ends up shaping how you act. And if your mind feeds on noise and distraction, what you'll bring to the world is confusion and exhaustion. So ask yourself honestly, what are you planting in your mind today? A stream of negative news, online arguments, endless comparisons with people you don't even know, or ideas that actually help you grow? The difference between a clear life and a cluttered one isn't just what you do, but what you consume without realizing it. And if you really want to regain clarity, start with simple changes. Today, do a quick cleanup of your social media. Unfollow that account that only shares bad news. Mute the contact who's always complaining. Remove that influencer who makes you feel like you're not enough. Every profile you clear off your screen creates space for your peace of mind. Next, set one screen-free moment during your day and make it non-negotiable. It could be during meals so you actually enjoy what you're eating, or when you get home so you can greet your family without a phone in your hand. If you'd rather do it at night, turn off all screens 30 minutes before bed and replace them with something as simple as stretching, reading a few pages of a light book, or writing down 3 good things that happened to you that day. You'll notice your sleep gets deeper and your mind quieter. Here's something even more practical. For every 10 minutes you spend on social media, give yourself 5 minutes doing something that actually nourishes your mind. Read an article you've been saving, listen to a short podcast, jot down a new idea for your project, clean out a drawer, call a friend for a real conversation, or just step out onto the balcony and take a deep breath. This isn't about living off the grid. It's about reclaiming the balance that digital noise quietly steals from you. My friend, protect what you let into your mind the same way you protect what you eat or the air you breathe. Because if your head is full of noise, your life will be noise. But if you choose to plant calm, clarity, and things that actually nourish you, then you'll start putting order where it matters most: your energy, your focus, and your inner peace. 7. Learn to let go of what only brings noise. Let me ask you something. How many times have you ended a day completely drained, not from what you did, but from what you carried from others? It's like you've spent the whole day with a radio blasting at full volume inside your head. And the worst part? It wasn't even your music. It was complaints, drama, and other people's problems. If you've ever gone to bed replaying situations that weren't even yours, you already know what I'm talking about. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you should protect your mind more than anything else. And he said this in the middle of wars, political tension, and constant betrayal. If even an emperor understood that what you allow inside determines your peace, how could you not apply that to your own daily life? Chaos doesn't always come from your stuff. Often it comes from people who drag their storms to your doorstep. And of course, you let them in because they're friends, family, co-workers. But there's a big difference between being there for someone and carrying their weight. The first is human. The second is a silent burden. Imagine someone close to you sends a message that starts with, "This always happens to me." All you wanted was 5 minutes of peace, but you get pulled into their spiral. You give advice they won't take. You respond again when they bring up the same issue next week. And in the end, you feel drained. The problem isn't that they're suffering. The problem is that you're turning their suffering into your disorder. My friend, surrounding yourself with people who only drain you is like trying to meditate next to a nightclub. No matter how much effort you make, the noise gets in. And as long as you keep saying, "I don't want to seem rude," or "What will they think if I'm not there?" you're leaving the door open for chaos to enter your life with your permission. So what can you do? First, be honest with yourself. Identify the people around whom you feel like you can't be fully yourself. If every conversation feels like walking through a minefield, if every message feels like a weight instead of a breath of fresh air, there's your signal. Don't ignore what you already know. Then, start setting boundaries, even subtle ones. You don't have to cut ties suddenly or create drama. Sometimes it's as simple as replying later instead of right away, saying less, changing the subject when the conversation turns toxic. Just not being constantly available is already a powerful reminder. Your time and your mind matter too. And most importantly, stop apologizing. You don't need to explain yourself for protecting your peace. Next, start planting relationships that actually lift you up. People you can talk to without walking on eggshells. Friends who inspire you to grow. People who make you laugh effortlessly. Life doesn't always have to be light, but you do need people around you who bring order, not more mess. And if you feel like you don't have anyone like that right now, then start by being that person. Be the friend who brings relief instead of weight, who uplifts instead of drains. Because here's the truth. If you keep letting other people's problems fill up all your mental space, don't be surprised when there's no room left for your own ideas, your goals, or your calm. Disorder doesn't just come from physical clutter. It also comes from conversations, from relationships, from bonds that only survive because you haven't found the courage to let go. The Stoics remind us, not everything that enters your life deserves a seat at your inner table. You have the right to choose what stays and what doesn't. And sometimes putting your life in order means making uncomfortable decisions, like stepping away from someone you care about, but who only brings chaos. That's not cold, it's responsible. Because if you don't protect your balance, no one else will do it for you. So ask yourself, what relationship, what conversation, what connection is messing with your peace right now? And now share it in the comments. Who or what will you stop giving space to in your mind starting today? Your answer might be the beginning of a real change, not just for you, but for someone else who needs to read it and find the courage to do the same. 8. Your body is the first schedule. You need to get in order. Imagine your life as a house. You can organize the furniture, clean the windows, paint the walls, but if the foundation is cracked, sooner or later everything will collapse. That's exactly what happens with your body. You can read about productivity, fill your days with plans, and search for motivation everywhere. But if your body is out of balance, no mental order will last. You know who didn't separate body from mind? That's right, the Stoics. For them, there was no such thing as inner clarity without physical discipline. Epictetus is the perfect example. He lived his entire life with a physical disability that reminded him daily of the limits of his body. He could have drowned in complaints, but he chose something else: to train his mind so it wouldn't be a slave to what was beyond his control. That mindset wasn't just philosophical, it was practical. Epictetus maintained a disciplined daily routine because he understood that even if his body had limitations, what was in his control was how he used it, how he supported it, and how he trained it to support his character. If he, having fewer physical resources than most, found strength through consistency, then what excuse do we have for neglecting basic care of our own body? How many times have you woken up feeling like you slept, but not like you rested? Your back aches, your neck is stiff, your mind is foggy before the day even begins. And then you wonder why you feel unmotivated, off balance, or mentally scattered. My friend, it's not that you lack discipline. It's that you're trying to build clarity on top of an exhausted body. Now tell me honestly, do you really think 4 cups of coffee are going to fix the fatigue you've been carrying? Do you believe 2 hours of sleep and 0 movement are a solid base for making clear decisions? It doesn't work like that. It's like expecting a horse to run miles without giving it food or water. Sooner or later it collapses, and the same goes for you. Psychologist Nerea Sanchez, an expert in the mind-body connection, puts it simply: what you don't process in your mind, your body will express. We see it in insomnia, migraines, shoulder tension, that fatigue that doesn't go away even with more sleep. Because your body isn't just some piece of furniture you can ignore, it's your first structure, and if it's out of order, everything else follows. Think about your daily routines. What time do you have dinner? Do you go to bed full of heavy food and then wonder why your sleep is light and restless? What time do you actually go to sleep? Not the time you say, but the time your phone says you turned off the screen. Your body needs rhythm. Going to bed at different hours every night is like giving your brain a broken calendar. It never knows what to expect. Want to start regaining balance? Do something simple tomorrow morning. As soon as you wake up, go for a 10-minute walk. No phone, no earbuds, just your footsteps. Don't do it to exercise or burn calories. Do it so your body and your mind can reconnect. When you move, you release tension and activate something foundational. Your breath aligns with your thoughts, your energy begins to rise. It might feel hard at first, but what you're building isn't comfort, it's discipline. Here's another powerful shift. Eat dinner earlier. Respect your body the way you would someone you care about. Don't ask it to process a heavy meal at 11 p.m. Eat lighter, eat earlier, and you'll be surprised how quickly your sleep improves. Then, commit to going to bed at the same time each night. It doesn't matter if you think you're more productive at night. What's really happening is that your body is confused, and that confusion is fueling the chaos in your mind. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of your thoughts, and those thoughts are deeply shaped by how you treat your body. If you overload it with tension, deprive it of sleep, or drown it in caffeine instead of rest, your thoughts will be dark and scattered. But if you care for it with structure, what begins to show up is clarity, calm, and the energy to make better choices. So next time you feel like your life is out of control, don't just start rearranging your schedule. First, look at how you're supporting your body. Maybe the chaos isn't in your plans, it's in the way you're treating your own foundation. And if you feel like no matter how much you try to create order in your life, something keeps making you stumble, maybe it's time to go deeper. Watch the video that's on screen now. It's going to shake you in a good way. It doesn't talk about theory, it talks about what's actually holding you back. And it might just be the spark you've been waiting for. 9. Money reveals the order you have inside. Have you ever opened your banking app with the same feeling you get walking into an exam you didn't study for? You know you're not going to like what you see, but you still check it, hoping the numbers somehow fix themselves. And meanwhile, you keep spending like there's an endless cushion under you. That overpriced coffee, the food delivery because you don't feel like cooking, that t-shirt you bought out of boredom more than anything else. The chaos in your finances isn't an accident. It's a reflection of the disorder within. When your mind is scattered or empty, money becomes a quick anesthetic. You spend to avoid thinking, to avoid feeling, to cover something you don't know how to manage. But here's the strange part. As Epictetus said, wealth consists much more in enjoyment than in possession. So if you really think about it, how much of what you buy do you actually enjoy? Often not even a fraction. It's just emotional patchwork. Picture a random Friday. You get paid and your mind instantly goes, "I deserve this." So you treat yourself. A nice dinner, a few drinks, a quick shopping spree. At first, it feels great, like you've just refueled your soul. But then Monday comes. You open your account, and what greets you is anxiety. That negative balance isn't just a financial issue. It's a symptom, a signal that chaos is still calling the shots. And when money controls you instead of the other way around, your mind never really rests. You live on edge, fearing that one unexpected bill could tear everything down. But let's be clear, this isn't about guilt. Most of us were never taught how to have a conscious relationship with money. We grew up thinking it was all math, money in, money out. But the truth is, your emotions drive the majority of your financial decisions. That's why today I want you to look at it differently. Money isn't just numbers. It's a mirror of your inner balance. Try this simple experiment. For one full week, track everything you spend. Yes, everything. The quick coffee, the midday snack, the online order, the subscription you forgot you had. But don't just write down the amount. Note how you felt in that moment. Boredom, stress, the need to reward yourself. At the end of the week, read the list as if it belonged to someone else. You'll start to see patterns you probably never noticed. Another powerful habit. Before every purchase, ask yourself quietly, do I need this, or do I just want to soothe something I'm feeling right now? That tiny pause is enough for many purchases to lose their power. Because if what you're really looking for is peace, it's not in the shirt or the delivery order. It's in facing the feeling head-on, instead of hiding it behind a receipt. And don't confuse financial order with living in scarcity. This isn't about never spending. It's about spending with intention. Set aside a conscious budget for enjoyment. Decide in advance how much you'll use to treat yourself. Go out or buy something just because, and stick to it. The difference is this: you're no longer acting out of impulse, you're acting out of choice. That, more than saving, is what trains your freedom. The Stoics knew it well. True wealth isn't about how much you accumulate, it's about how little you need to live well. Seneca said, "It's not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." And that's the root of financial chaos, confusing need with uncontrolled desire. When you learn to tell them apart, money stops being your enemy and becomes a tool for order. Imagine how it would feel to open your bank account and not flinch, because you know where every euro went. You don't need to be rich to feel peace. What you need is order. And when you bring order to your finances, the rest of your life starts to fall in line. You gain clarity, reduce anxiety, and feel certain that your choices aren't coming from emotional emptiness, but from inner calm. So here's a question for you to answer in the comments. What financial habit are you willing to change starting today to begin bringing order into your life? Your commitment might inspire someone else who's tired of living in chaos too. And if you want to seal it with clarity, write, Stoic at heart. Today I choose to spend with intention. 10. Master the screen. Picture this. Night falls over your city. The buildings go dark one by one. But in every window there's still one light shining. It's not a candle, not a lamp. It's that cold glow from a screen. Millions of eyes caught in the same flicker. And among them, yours. Maybe you haven't noticed, but technology stopped being a tool a long time ago. It's become a silent master. Marcus Aurelius lived surrounded by responsibilities that would crush most people. Ruling an empire, making decisions in war, navigating betrayal and conspiracy. He could have drowned in distractions, let himself be pulled in every direction by the voices around him. But he chose something else. To remind himself every morning where his attention should go. In his meditations, he wrote, "The perfection of character is to live each day as if it were your last, without apathy or distraction." He knew the most valuable thing wasn't power or wealth or victory. It was presence. Now compare that to today. How are we supposed to live with intention when the first thing we do in the morning is scroll through social media, answer messages, and dive headfirst into a sea of noise? When your attention belongs to a screen, you're no longer in charge of your life. And that's not order. That's chaos in a sleek, modern wrapper. Modern psychologists say the same thing. On the podcast Entiende tu mente, they explain that digital disconnection isn't just about using your phone less. Your brain needs real silence, moments with zero stimulation, to process, to rest, to make sense of your experience. When you live surrounded by screens, notifications, and endless scrolling, your mind never shuts off. And a mind that never rests eventually breaks. Try this. When was the last time you ate without looking at a screen? Or walked 10 minutes without pulling out your phone? It seems like nothing, but that's the trap. You've normalized living with constant noise, and when you normalize it, you stop noticing how much it's stealing from you. My friend, it's time to take your power back, and that takes more than setting app timers. You have to cut the cord, at least for a while. Force yourself to take a digital retreat. No, you don't need to go to a monastery or the desert. Imagine this. Tomorrow, you turn off your phone completely. Before you do, you notify whoever needs to know, and then silence. You disappear digitally for one day. What happens next? In the morning, instead of reaching for a screen, you wake up and go about your routine without interruptions. You drink your coffee or eat your breakfast in peace, looking out the window, noticing the colors, listening to the sounds of the street. You realize that breakfast without your phone isn't boring, it's freeing. Later, instead of drowning in notifications, you go for a walk. 10, maybe 20 minutes. No earbuds, just you and your steps. At first, your mind fidgets. But little by little, thoughts start to settle that never had space in the noise. By midday, you cook without rushing. You chop, stir, taste. You realize that preparing a meal can feel like meditation. And when you eat, you're actually present. No screens, no distractions. Just you in the moment. In the afternoon, instead of falling into the endless scroll, you pick up a book you'd forgotten about. You write in a notebook. You revisit an idea you left behind months ago. You start to feel like your attention belongs to you again. And at night, something even more powerful happens. You sleep differently. You go to bed without that avalanche of noise usually buzzing in your mind. You feel the difference. Deeper, cleaner rest. That's the power of a one-day digital retreat. It's not about quitting your phone forever. It's about remembering that your life doesn't depend on it, that the world keeps turning, and that inside that world you can bring order back. And if it feels too hard, use humor. Go into your phone settings and change the name of your device to Time Thief. Every time you unlock it, you'll see the truth. That awkward little laugh, that's your wake-up call. The Stoics didn't know about smartphones, but they did know how precious your attention is. Seneca warned us, life is not short. We just waste a lot of it. And today, the biggest waste of all lives in your pocket. The only way not to fall into its trap is to decide, with discipline, when to use technology and when to put it down. Remember this, my friend. If you don't master your technology, someone else will master your attention. And your attention is the front door to your mind. If you leave that door open, chaos will walk right in, without even knocking. 11. A bad day doesn't erase your path. We've all had those days when nothing seems to go right. You wake up on the wrong foot, your coffee burns, you're running late, work piles up, you argue with someone, and by the end of the day you're completely drained, feeling like everything you've worked for all week just collapsed. And then, the thought that makes it all worse appears. Why keep going? I've already messed it all up, my friend. A bad day is not the end of your journey, it's just a stumble. What actually sinks you isn't the fall, it's giving up afterwards. Marcus Aurelius, in the middle of wars and political betrayal, faced constant chaos and unpredictability. Yet he wrote, "The perfection of character is to live each day as if it were your last, without apathy or distraction." That doesn't mean his days were perfect. It means he understood something crucial. The value is in starting over, again and again, even when the world feels like it's falling apart. Let me put you in a situation you probably know all too well. You start the week full of motivation. Monday goes great. You stick to your routine, eat well, work with focus. Tuesday's the same. You feel unstoppable. But then Thursday hits. You stay up too late, skip your workout, eat whatever's around in your to-do list. Untouched. What happens next? Instead of treating it like a bump in the road, you decide the week's already ruined. You give up. And what was just one bad day turns into 5 days of chaos. The problem isn't messing up. The problem is using that mess as an excuse to quit everything. That's the trap. Because one bad day doesn't cancel out the good ones, it only feels heavier because you let it grow into a monster in your mind. Molo Cebrian said it perfectly in his podcast, Entiende tu mente. Rigid minds can't handle life. Flexibility can. That's the key. It's not about living a perfect routine. It's about having the flexibility to get back up, even when everything went wrong. That ability to return is what separates those who move forward from those who stay stuck in the mess. So what can you do on those days? First, accept it. There's no such thing as a perfectly organized life. There will always be crooked days, and that's okay. Second, don't try to fix everything at once. Don't aim to save the whole week in one go. Just focus on one small action you can complete. Maybe it's washing the dishes, going for a 15-minute walk, answering that one email you've been putting off. Anything that signals I'm coming back. And third, before going to bed, write down one short sentence to close the day. Today I stumbled, but I'm still standing. That phrase becomes an anchor, a reminder that your story doesn't end with one bad day. Imagine if Marcus Aurelius had given up every time Rome was in crisis, or if Epictetus had believed that his physical condition condemned him to passivity. We wouldn't even know their names. Their greatness wasn't in avoiding failure. It was in coming back from it. And that's exactly what you need to remember. Real order isn't proven on the easy days. It shows up in your ability to return after the storm. So don't let one bad day define your week, your month, or your life. Don't turn a single stone in the road into an unbreakable wall. One stumble doesn't ruin the building unless you walk away and leave it unfinished. Push yourself to keep going, even with one small gesture. Because even in the middle of chaos, you still have the power to come back. And that power is what truly brings order into your life. 12. Putting your life in order is an act of self-worth. Let me tell you something that might be hard to hear. Most of the time, you don't organize your life because deep down, you don't believe it deserves to be cared for. And no, it's not laziness. It's not a lack of discipline. It's something deeper. You've forgotten your own value. But we can learn from the greatest. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." And yet so often it's your own opinion of yourself that does the most damage. If you believe you don't deserve clarity, you'll keep living in disorder. Because when you don't value yourself, it's easy to let chaos make your choices for you. When you stop prioritizing yourself, chaos becomes routine. You get used to living among piles of paper, unfinished tasks, scattered schedules, and you justify it by saying you don't have time, energy, or motivation. But the truth is tougher. You're not treating your life as something valuable, as something worthy of order, respect, and care. Think about what happens when you walk into your kitchen and find a sink full of dirty dishes. You can wash them grudgingly just to check a task off the list. Or you can see it differently, as an act of respect for yourself, a moment to say, "I deserve a clean space. I deserve order." That small shift turns a chore into a reminder of your own worth. I remember hearing Veronica Bloom say something in an interview that stayed with me. "I organize because my peace of mind also deserves a beautiful place." She didn't say it as a catchy quote for social media. She said it with the calm of someone who understands that self-care begins with what you choose to do each day, even the smallest things. My friend, organizing isn't just about productivity. It's not about checking off a list. It's a form of self-respect. It's how you show yourself that you matter enough to create a space that reflects your worth. Because if you don't do it for you, no one else will. And you don't need to start with anything big. Just pick one spot and treat it with care. Your nightstand, your desk, your fridge. Do it slowly, without pressure, with the intention of telling yourself, "I deserve this order." And each night, write a simple phrase, "Today I took care of myself by organizing my space." It might feel small, but your mind starts to believe what you repeat. And little by little, you build a new identity, someone who respects themselves. Marcus Aurelius, even while ruling an empire, found time to write in his journal, not to be productive or to impress anyone, but to remind himself of what really mattered, that he had to live in alignment with himself, that his life, with all its weight, deserved to be cared for. If he made that space, how can you not find it for your own life? And remember, this isn't about perfection. There will be days when everything gets messy again. That's okay. Because respect isn't measured in keeping everything spotless. It's measured in the constant decision to care for it again and again. Your life can be your masterpiece, but only if you choose to become its conscious author. Chaos won't disappear on its own. It needs you to face it, make choices, and commit to yourself. Organizing your life isn't a punishment. It's the clearest way to say, "I'm worth enough to live with order." Now tell me, what space in your life will you organize today to remind yourself that you deserve clarity and respect? Write it in the comments and make your commitment visible, not just for you, but for everyone in this community that's choosing to build order from the inside out. But wait, because we're not done yet. The most important piece is still ahead. Because none of this order will last if you don't start from one very specific place. What's coming next isn't easy to accept, but it could change everything. 13. Saying no is also order. You've felt it before. You get to the end of the week and realize you've been running around, fulfilling commitments you didn't even care about. That lunch you went to out of obligation. That meeting you said yes to even though you had no reason to be there. That phone call you answered when all you wanted was to rest. And at the end of the day, you catch yourself thinking, when do I actually live my life, if I'm always busy fixing everyone else's? Chaos doesn't always come from a messy home or disorganized finances. Often, it enters through one simple thing: your inability to set a clear boundary. And when you don't draw that line, your energy scatters like water slipping through your hands. Think of Marcus Aurelius. Senators, generals, citizens. Everyone wanted something from him all the time. His life was a non-stop storm of external demands. Yet in his meditations, he constantly reminded himself to return to what was essential, to what truly mattered. He didn't write those lines to impress anyone. He wrote them to protect his own time and mind, even as an emperor. You're not ruling an empire, but you are ruling your own life. And every time you say yes when deep down you want to say no, you're giving that power away. Picture this: you leave work exhausted, looking forward to a quiet dinner and a bit of reading. But just then, a message pops up. Hey, want to grab a drink? Come on, don't say no, and now you hesitate. You know what you need is rest, but you say yes out of guilt. You go, get home late, sleep poorly, and wake up drained. So what really happened? It wasn't the outing itself, it was handing over the steering wheel of your life to the fear of disappointing someone. So what can you do? Start by listening to your body in those moments. If you feel a knot in your stomach or a quiet inner voice asking for rest, listen to it. That discomfort is your compass, and you don't need a dramatic excuse to honor it. A simple reply is enough. Tonight's not a good time. Let's catch up another day. That's it. No need to explain further. And here's where the real magic happens. When you release those unnecessary commitments, you don't just gain time, you gain clarity. That evening you would have spent on a plan you didn't want. It becomes a chance to move forward on what does matter. Reading that book you've been neglecting, cooking a meal that actually nourishes you, writing down that idea you've been putting off for weeks. That free space? That's order walking through the door. The Stoics spoke often about focusing on what's within your control. And your boundaries? They belong only to you. No one else can set them. So start treating them for what they are: a wall that protects your energy, your peace, and your life. My friend, this isn't about saying no out of defiance. It's about saying no so you can say yes to what truly matters. Because when your calendar is full of things that don't represent you, chaos finds its way in fast. And what you're trying to build, order, direction, calm, needs space to exist. So ask yourself today, what commitment can you release so that you can finally reclaim your time, your mind, and your peace? Organizing your life doesn't mean being perfect. It means respecting yourself. It means not letting chaos make the decisions for you. Because if you don't take control, it will. And the worst part is, you won't even notice until it's already stolen your peace, your energy, and even your sense of purpose. Every choice, no matter how small, is a message you send to yourself. Are you building order or feeding the disorder? Remember, order doesn't appear by magic. It's built day by day with intention, discipline, and commitment to yourself. And if you've made it this far, I want you to declare it differently. Write in the comments, "Today I choose order, not chaos." That's how I'll know who the Stoic-hearted warriors are who stayed with us till the end. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video so you don't miss what's coming next. In the description box below, you'll find some resources to help you dive deeper into Stoic wisdom. We're here to give you as much value as we can. And if at any point you feel moved to support us so we can keep creating this content, check the pinned comment to see how you can do that. Now, I invite you to explore the playlist on your screen. It's designed to help you face life with more clarity and strength. Click through, and let's keep moving forward together. Until our next talk, take care and keep embracing your Stoic within.